American Pie by Don McClean is one of the most analyzed songs in rock and roll. This 8.5-minute song looks at what happened to rock and roll and America in the decades after Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, and the Big Bopper died in a plane crash in 1959. Don McClean has never fully explained the meaning of the song, but there are references to Bob Dylan, Elvis, the Beatles, the Stones, the Byrds, Janis Joplin, as well as the JFK assassination, communism, the Manson murders, and the tragedy at the Altamont Speedway Free Festival. On today's episode of Prisoners of Rock and Roll, we're putting American Pie under our musical microscope. We're going to give our 2 cents on all the symbolism in the song, look at what happened in America in the late 50s and early 60s, and talk about the impact of the day the music died. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Prisoners of Rock and Roll, episode number 32. My name is Bruce Kramer, and I'm behind the wheel tonight with the ace of spades and the Ayatollah of rock and rolla, Mr. Ryan McCusker and Mr. Doug McCusker.
Do you believe in rock and roll?
Are you rocking?
Prisoners of Rock and Roll is sponsored by McCusker's Tavern at 17th and Shunk Streets in Philadelphia, and our show is part of the Pantheon Podcast Network, the network for awesome music podcasts. I guess I should have said welcome back to the Prisoners of Rock and Roll.
Here we are. We're back another year.
Missed you, Bruce.
This is the longest I have gone without talking to you guys or seeing you guys in over a year.
How was your holiday?
My holiday was awesome, man. How was yours?
It was
Very
great.
nice. Yeah.
It was nice to have some downtime. I took a week off from work, and it was nice to just kind of have some downtime, regroup.
Yeah, sure.
I think my wife was really anxious for me to get back to doing this because she's
when are you
tired.
going to get back out of the house
She's
again?
tired of hearing me talk about American Pie.
I've been listening to it nonstop and trying to dissect it, and I think everybody has a different opinion about it.
Sure.
Yeah, man. And it's so funny how this topic came out because we were doing the one episode and the electric chair, we sent Madonna's version of the song.
that's
which
right.
is
horrible.
awful.
That's right.
Horrible.
And it was like, that's a great pick. And then as we were putting the gear away, we were like,
Hey, let's do this episode.
Right, we could do a show on this. And then it just kind of snowballed into it. It's got to be one of the most analyzed songs in rock and roll history.
It's one of the greatest songs ever. It's like part of the number 5 in the world's most best songs ever.
This is like definitely a part of the soundtrack of my life. Like this song.
Me too.
Like it holds a special place in my heart. And it always comes up with reference. And I always... Every once in a while, like maybe once a week, it pops in my head.
I had to have listened to it 30 times
in
the last couple of weeks, man. Just playing it over and over again.
And I never get tired of it. I never like, oh, not this song again. Like if somebody plays in the bar, years ago, I never get tired of it.
I think it's a thing. It's dying. People don't play it in the bar anymore.
Yeah, no, but when they did, I never got tired of it. Like I'm not like, oh, not this friggin' song again. You know,
I think they don't play it on the radio.
No, it was too long. I think it's too
like
long.
a song that has to be passed down from generation to generation.
Yeah.
I remember hearing it the first time in McCusker's.
Yeah.
And somebody was like, this is the greatest song ever written.
Yeah.
You got to sit down and listen to it. And ever since then, I knew there was something different about this song.
I always wondered, man, well, first of all, it's a brilliant song. Can you guys name 3 songs by Don McClean? No. Can you name 2 songs by Don McClean? Right.
No.
So, and most people can't, right? And again, we have a show about music.
Yeah.
So it's like this brilliance came out of him. And then that was it.
You ever hear what he says? He's like, what's the meaning of American Pie? And he goes, it means I'll never have to work ever again.
Yeah.
But this is like one of the greatest rock and roll songs ever written, or is it one of the greatest folk songs ever written?
Or is it a one-hit wonder?
Yeah, but
I think it's both, Doug.
Would you consider it like a folk song? Because I kind of do. If you listen to the feel, besides the drums and all, it is rocking.
It's rocking in the middle.
But he is a folk. He was a folk singer. Like he came up under Pete Seeger and all those kind of guys. Yeah. And even the storytelling is kind of like a folk.
That's
thing.
what it is. Yeah.
And I think it's reverent. We'll get into the symbolism later, but I think he's so reverential to Dylan because Dylan came out of the folk era.
Yeah, especially when the song was written. Dylan was at the height of being the savior of it all.
And I think also part of the allure of the song is that Don McClean has never really come out and said what it's about. He does a ton of interviews, but then in the interviews, everyone always asks him.
Well, that's the only reason why people want to talk to him is he asks him about this song.
Correct. But he won't say it.
But you know what, though? It's like, how much responsibility is that to have people asking you the meaning of life?
Yeah, all the time.
What's the meaning of life? What's the meaning of American pie?
Yeah.
It's like, come on. If you can't figure it out by yourself and have your own meaning to it, then you don't know what music is about.
Right.
Did he ever say how long it actually took him to write this song? Did it take him weeks? Did it take him months? Did it take him an hour?
It took him, and what did I send you today, Bruce?
Yeah, that he wrote part of it in like Cold Spring in Pennsylvania, and then he wrote part of it in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Yeah. Good for Philly.
And there's a part, like he's from New York, and there's like a bar or a restaurant somewhere in New York that there's like a placard next to a booth that says like he helped write it. He started writing it here, and he kind of debates that.
Yeah. He seems like I did it all by myself and nobody else helped me.
Hey, I would, so would I. Like, this is a great song. He's still making money off of it,
Yeah, sure. He like married some young chick.
They all do, man.
No, but he's like 70 something years old. And he married a girl that's like 24, 25.
So did Mick.
So in 2016, he was arrested for domestic violence against his wife at the time. He's now dating a model named Paris Dunn, who is 27 years old. That's him. 48 years younger than him.
Good for him.
So
I guess he still's got the loot then. He's got that American Pie loot.
He probably makes, $300,000 a week for royalties on that song.
He sold the manuscript of the song in 2015 for $1.2 million.
He personally sold it. Did it?
Yeah, it was like
for him.
It was like pages out of like a spiral notebook.
I kind of remember that. Yeah,
it had some notes around some stuff in the margins around like what things meant.
Did it say on top of it? I have no idea what the song's about.
Couple other notes about the song. So it came out in 1971. It was a #1 hit, like the U.S. and Canada and Australia and New Zealand. It's 8 minutes and 42 seconds long, and it was the longest song to ever hit #1 on Billboard until last year. There's a Taylor Swift song that beat it.
I love Taylor Swift.
I know you do, man. Especially that tattoo you got of her on your ass.
Yes.
How'd you say it?
Yeah, Bruce. What are you doing?
Well, who do you think drew the design?
Yeah, that's
for
true.
It?
Yeah. Hey, we are in prison, so it was a jailhouse tattoo.
Who did the stencils?
Yes.
Yeah, man. So, but a lot of the symbolism is Don McClean has never said who it's about, but he has admitted that what the day the music died is.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the day, February 3rd, 1959, when Richie Valens, the Big Bopper, and Buddy Holly were killed in a plane crash in Iowa.
Yeah, they were on tour. It was freezing out. It's the middle of winter. And instead of being on a cold bus driving 300 miles, they chartered a plane to fly them this distance.
That's very nice of you to actually call it a plane. It was like a lawnmower with like propellers,
right.
I don't know. I mean, we'll get into it.
Yeah.
Something like that. But it was just like a bad decision on everybody's part.
Well, you know what I thought, man, was really weird was that the Winter Dance Party continued after that plane crash. Like, dude, they played that night. Like,
show must go on,
the
dude.
other acts, man.
That's insane.
The organizers called in Frankie Avalon and Fabian to be the tour headliners. They were like, who else do we got that we can just call in?
They just happened to be out in Iowa.
Maybe it was a couple days to get them synced up with the tour, but it was like that the show kept rolling on.
Let the good times roll. You just had these three big die, and then let's get these two.
Haven't you had those strappers replace the...
Because all the great ones died on the plane, dude. Like, who else are you going to get? Who else was a big deal?
They're strappers,
who else was a big? Yeah, who was a big deal?
Cares?
And you're from Philly too.
They're strappers.
They are. I agree.
I mean, we talked about Buddy Holly and the death, and we did our episode on the top 6 American rock and roll bands. We had Buddy Holly. Ryan, I don't think you had him on your. Did you have him on your list?
He was.
Was it all three of us had him?
I believe so.
Yeah, I thought so too. I mean, and that death, that accident was like the first tragedy in rock and roll, early rock and roll, early celebrities too, man.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
like after that, his wife learned about his death by watching it on the news.
Yeah,
and that was
awful.
that was when journalists changed their like we notified the next of kin before we put it on the news because of her, because she had a miscarriage.
Yeah.
Reading about that, and she's never gone to the grave. She's never. And I read that she used to go on tour with him a lot, but she was pregnant, so she was like, "I'm not going on this one." And she was like, "Had I not been pregnant, I would have been with him, and he wouldn't have. I would not have gotten him, let him get on that plane."
I'm sure she racked her brain millions and billions of different scenarios, and
she's still alive.
That must be a very sad life to live.
You got to think about when this happened too. So this must be the first tragedy the baby boomers had. You know what I mean? This is before Kennedy, before like travesty. After World War II, like things are good. People are making money. The country's booming. Rock and roll is just kind of starting. It's getting this feel. And then the three biggest names in the act died. These kids must have been like beside themselves.
Yeah, she's still alive. She's 89.
Good for her.
But I was like, yeah, dude. I mean, he was 22.
Yeah,
we talked about that in that episode, man, about how just so much stuff in music has come out of him, and he was 22. Richie Valens was 17.
Yeah, he's a kid.
Even
he's a baby.
the Big Bopper was 28. Like all
he's
three
old,
of those
man.
guys were young.
Just think of all the songs they never got to sing.
Right.
Like how many Buddy Holly songs did we lose that weren't recorded yet?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Everything he was doing with like how things were recorded and taking charge of everything. I mean, you hear it in the Beatles and rockabilly and everything that dude was changing with music.
We always talk about, like, if an artist didn't die, would they still be big today? I still believe that Buddy Holly would have continued and still been just as popular today.
He would have wrote better songs.
Yeah, regardless of his death or not. The other two, like Richie Valens, the Big Bopper, absolutely not. Big
Bopper was kind of a
it was
the only reason that anybody knows who the Big Bopper is because he died in a plane crash.
Yeah. All right, man. So I think the way we're going to tackle this is we're going to play a couple lines from the song, and then we're going to dive into it. We've got some tunes that were either we think are referenced or inspired by American Pie, and we're going to get really into it. I got a couple things I want to give some shout outs, man, some sources I looked at. First of all, there's a radio station called 97.1 The Drive in Chicago. They have a podcast called Behind the Song that they did an episode on this song, so I learned a lot listening to that. I found a website called missamericapie.co.uk where a British gentleman wrote like a whole
thesis
dissertation. Yeah. I also found a book called "Do You Believe in Rock and Roll?" that was just all about American Pie. It was an entire book about it.
How long is it?
It was a couple hundred pages.
Really?
Yeah. And I probably also need to thank all of my English professors because I went full back into my English major days, man, just dissecting every line.
The education came in handy, eh?
Yeah. My parents would be so proud that I'm using all that money that we spent on my degree.
Well, that's right away when I made the suggestion, your wheels went, oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I can travel into this for a month.
But you know what, dude? I thought when you mentioned this, I was like, we were saying that night. I was like, oh, we could do the show like right now. We could set all of our stuff back up and do it right now. I learned a lot, like really diving in. I know that song, and I could probably recite the lyrics. All three of us could probably recite the lyrics right now sitting here. But I learned some kind of like some nuances and some references and stuff that I had never heard before.
And I learned how to play the song. Like the day after I sat down with my bass and I learned how to play the
really?
song. It's a complicated song.
Is
like
it?
Musically, yeah.
I play it on drums. It's very complicated.
All right, man. All right, so let's dive into it. Here we go.
Remember how that music used to make me smile, and I knew if I had my chance that I could make those people dance, and maybe they'd be happy for a while. But February made me shiver with every paper I deliver. Bad news on the doorstep. I couldn't take one more step. I can't remember if I cried when I read about his widowed bride, but something touched me deep inside the day the music died.
It paints such a picture.
What a great opening that is, man. It's self-explanatory. What are you going to say? He wakes up and delivers the papers and finds out that his heroes are dead.
Yeah. And I like the first verse. He's imagining that he also can make people happy the way that he felt when he heard that music a long, long time ago. So he's dreaming about being a famous musician.
And he was he said that the only job he ever had in his life was he was a newspaper delivery person. And he said that he did learn about Buddy. He said he was into Buddy Holly. He would, if he did the math, he said he was 13 when Buddy Holly died.
There's a lot of truth in those two verses.
Yeah.
There's a lot of truth in his life in those two verses.
I think everybody can identify with something. Maybe your favorite celebrity or something dying when you're a kid.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Maybe it was when Kurt Cobain died.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and I guess it's the same. It's the equivalent of like today, we see
when
it
when Tom Petty died.
Yeah.
Like that was like earth shattering. So I understand. Like I kind of do. I think we all understand where he's coming from.
I just mean that he was just so young.
Yeah. No.
You know,
yeah.
Tom Petty was in the 70s.
We were like a couple years ago, but still the same effect though. You know, meaning like you just stop in your tracks.
Yeah. And that's one of the few references that Don McClean has admitted that's a reference to Buddy Holly. I also clear this up that the plane was not called American Pie.
A lot of people.
That's always like
a lot of
people think that.
Or that Don McClean was dating a Miss America contestant, and that's and so much of this stuff, man, just it spirals out into like the legend.
It's like the legend is bigger than the song.
Yeah,
and that's kind of cool. Like,
that's what we're doing.
Yeah,
we're tearing it apart.
I mean, you think about it. I mean, a couple of the line like I knew if I had my chance, I could make those people dance. He's thinking back to the time of the happy time in the music in the 50s, and even saying like making people dance.
Yeah.
Makes you think of the Winter Dance Party, which is the name of the tour that they were on.
I think like all throughout this song, he talks about different bands and everything like that. I think he talks about how music used to dance to, and then music it became to listen to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like
sure,
you don't dance to Hendrix. You know, you don't dance to something experimental like the Byrds was doing.
No, it's definitely about. I mean, this. He said something too that this song is not only about the music, but it's what happens to America in the 10 years after.
Oh yeah. That's what I was kind of getting at earlier. Like this is that first heartbreak that these baby boomers had.
The innocence.
Yeah,
because you think about like when he died in '59. So it's. Eisenhower's the president. We're still coming off the high of we won the war.
Life was good,
but
life was good in '58,
right,
man.
Economically, everybody was doing really well. Everybody was moving out in the suburbs.
Yeah.
Rock and roll was coming up. You got the sock hops and the diners and the poodle skirts.
Everybody's having fun.
Right, the guys in the jeans.
It was a magical era,
Right.
Or that's how like like pop culture and cinema remembers it. It's that
sure,
not necessarily a golden age, but it's a look back at a time that very fondly, of innocent times, like you're saying.
But even in hindsight, like you hear the song now, and in light of everything that's going on, when you hear about, I read about his widow bride, something touched me deep inside it.
I like that verse. I read about his widow bride.
Yeah, but she had a miscarriage.
Right. Yeah. It also makes you think of Jackie Kennedy too, a little bit.
You think so?
Like, right? Because it's like, I mean, it's. So the song goes from like 59 to 69. So it's like that was part of it, and it's like part of an allusion to it.
I never thought of that.
Neither have I.
So
that's why you're the professor.
I got tons of that stuff, man. All right, all right. So let's go into the first chorus. Here we go. I got some good stuff on the chorus too.
So bye bye, Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. And them good old boys were drinking whiskey and rye, singing, "This'll be the day that I die. This'll be the day that I die."
All right. So the chorus. So we already talked about that American Pie isn't like a thing. It's like
it's a frame of mind.
Correct.
Sure.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It makes you. And there's the Chevy and apple pie are themes of America. I also found out with like the reference to the levee. So we're gonna get a little nerd here.
Yeah, but I had a little thought about it also.
So go ahead.
No, my thought was about with the levee was dry. Like a river flows and it's free, and everything like that's happening in the song. It seems like everything's drying up. And everything like the water's not there to move freely anymore. It's dried up. just like the American dream dried up.
Right. So meaning that so many like affected him so much, or like America so much that people.
I'm just saying, like the whole American dream is gone.
Like, or this is the first step. This is the first step of the American dream.
The whole American dream is gone, just like the water from a levee.
Yeah. So you just saying that, man, made me think of like the open opportunity of everything that America stands for. You know, the classic sense of like the land of opportunity. And you think of like the, you know, the Mississippi River, these big majestic things, and now it's dried up.
Yeah. Like life isn't that innocent. Like this isn't a movie. This is real life, and tragedy happens in real life.
I mean, when I've always heard this song, I have a picture in my head of an old Chevy pickup truck next to a dried up riverbed with 3 dudes or 4 dudes in the white T-shirts with the pack of smokes rolled up, and they're doing a shot of whiskey. That was always what was in my head. The concept of the Chevy at the levee. There's actually, I found a Chevy commercial from the 1950s by Dinah Shore. So here, let me play a little bit of this. Check this out. This is pretty cool.
Drive your Chevrolet through the USA. America's the greatest land of all. On a highway or a road along a levee. Performance is sweeter, nothing can beat her. Life is completer in a Chevy.
That's catchy.
So drive your Chevy along a river or a levee.
So that commercial was around before the song was written.
Yeah.
So he said that. How brilliant is
that? It's an old black and white.
Dude,
good for you
figuring that out. Like, I know.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah, that's amazing.
So in the last line, that'll be the day that I die. That's from the Buddy Holly song, right?
Famous Buddy Holly song,
right?
That'll be the day.
So let's can
we listen to it?
Yeah, man. Dude, I love this song.
This is one.
So
right.
So
it's rocking.
In singing, this will be the day that I die. This will be the day that I die. And then here's the Buddy Holly song. Absolutely brilliant,
dude. You're blowing me away, dude. You're really blowing me away with all this
amazing recording. That is, I mean, just to sit back and listen to the echo on his voice.
I was saying as we're playing it, it was like he's got that hiccupy the way he sings and his voice goes up, but the bass was going down. Yeah, so they're going in 2 different directions. Like, dude, he was so ahead of his time, man. And I'm thinking like he's in the 50s making this stuff.
Well, you think about like. Also, who like he inspired the Beatles,
right?
Like,
and that sounds like the Beatles, right?
Yeah,
the
Beatles covered this.
They covered this.
Yeah, and it's just like that's the influence. Like it's endless. The influence that Buddy Holly had on music that we know today.
Yeah,
and he started it.
Right. All right. So here's the other tangent of the other meaning that I read about this, and I don't agree with it. But Don McClean grew up in New Rochelle, New York, and according to stuff on the internet, there was a bar in New Rochelle called the Beachmont Tavern that his nickname was the Levee. So the Levee was also slang back in the day for a party. So I drove my Chevy to the party, but the party was dry. Or I went to this bar called the Levee, and the Levee was dry.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Because there was no alcohol.
I like the car commercial.
I do
better.
too.
Yeah.
Because then there's also a debate. Is he saying the good old boys were drinking whiskey and rye? Or is he saying the good old boys are drinking whiskey in Rye? Because Rye is a town in New York, like the next town over from when he grew up.
I've been to Rye. There's an awesome theater there called the Capitol Theater, and it's been there for a long time. They put shows on. It's an amazing place. You ever get out there?
So I think that's people going too far.
I think so.
Saying
it's an awful like the coincidence is kind of like really interesting.
Yeah,
but for me, I like the car commercial better because it's pop America. It's America.
I do too.
Like pop,
it's, right. It's about the death of like the American
dream
ideal.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's a little too coincidental though.
I could see how they talked about the other way.
It's
very poetic.
Yeah.
I think it's poetic. I don't know.
So it's like the good old boys. He drove a Chevy to the levee, but also doesn't really make sense because he's 13 at the time. So like you ain't driving anywhere. You're not going to a bar,
right?
But the guys are at the next town over partying. To me, it was like the good old boys are like Buddy Holly's friends back in Lubbock, Texas.
Maybe.
Like with it, because the Chevy and the pickup truck, that's an Americana kind of thing. And yeah. All right. So I think we just debunked that. So all right. Let's keep rolling, man. Let's play the next how far? Maybe we'll go down to Man, I Dig Those Rhythm and Blues.
Yeah.
Did you write the book of love, and do you have faith in God above? If the Bible tells you so. Do you believe in rock and roll? Can music save your mortal soul? And can you teach me how to dance real slow? Well, I know that you're in love with him, 'cause I saw you dancing in the gym. You both kicked off your shoes. Man, I dig those rhythm and blues. I was a lonely teenage bronc and buck with a pink carnation and a pickup truck. But I knew I was out of luck the day the music died.
I don't know. I see in the picture in my head, he goes to the dance and somebody's dancing with his girl that he really likes. And he realizes the music is more important than this chick at the moment because he digs the rhythm and blues more than he's digging this chick.
I like the verse. It's like, did you write the book of love, and do you have faith in God above if the Bible tells you so? Now, do you believe in rock and roll? Can music save your immortal soul? So he's saying that music is just a religious experience, just as much as like influence as like the Bible and God and whatever part of like America was then, or values, American values.
Yeah, but even they were, rock and roll was against everything that the religion was about. They were burning books. They were burning.
Well, the Nazis were.
Music.
But they were burning records.
But I think
they were burning Elvis records.
Music's been the devil's music, right? We talked about that with Sinatra.
But I think in those two verses, I think that he's saying that music just as important to him, and he gets just as much as a feeling as from God above as a religious experience. That's how I take that.
I love the line, "Can music save your mortal soul?" Yeah. I mean, that's it. The commercial that we have, the promo thing for Spotify, is that I closed it by saying, "Do you think can music save your mortal soul?" We think so.
Absolutely.
That's where that's from.
Yeah.
The line, "Did you write the book of love, and do you have faith in God above?" That's from another song. Yeah. So the book of love by the Monotones.
Right. Do we have that?
We do, man. Let's play a little bit of it. Man. Yeah. This is a really cool song too.
I wonder who wrote the book of love? Tell me, who wrote the book of love? I've got to know the answer. Was it someone from above? I wonder who wrote the book of love? I love you, darling, baby, you know I do. But I've got to see this book of love, find out why it's true.
I think it's about love, though. Like, he's using a symbolism of he went to this dance. The girl that he was in love with is dancing with somebody else, and they're playing the rhythm and blues music. And he's like, holy shit, this means more to me right now than this girl. So he gets in his car and he takes off. When he has the pink carnation in the pickup truck, the pink carnation, I see him wearing the white.
Yeah, the
white tuxedo with the pink carnation, which is also a song that's I forget who it's by, but the symbolism for the song is about going to a dance, getting dressed up in your best with your best girl, and having a flower, a pink carnation. That's what the song is about.
No, absolutely. That verse is
there's an actual song called Pink Carnation.
I love it. The fact that that this song, I don't want to use the word controversial, but there's too many coincidences from pop culture that he's using that's creating something completely
absolutely
to
man.
explain a time. It's brilliant.
Can you play Pink Carnation?
Yeah, let me finish with the one line. So, did you write the book of love? Do you have faith in God above? If the Bible tells you so. There's another song too that was like a children's song called "Jesus Loves Me, This I Know," and the line of that song is, "Jesus loves me, this I know, because the Bible tells me so." So, and it was
It's
also
like an old child rhyme.
yeah, and it was also something that came out at the same time.
It's like he's going through like a time machine in his head through his whole life.
Yeah.
Like the things that like that stick out to him. It's very interesting.
Yeah, and then I'll get to the Pink Carnation in a second. So, like, do you believe in rock and roll? Can music save your mortal soul? Can you teach me how to dance real slow? So he wants to learn because, like, dude, if you slow dance with somebody in the 50s, that was like, like
steady.
You can get like the second baseman.
Yeah.
Right. That's more than me helping draw the tattoo of on your butt. That's really so. He wants that, and also like the can music save your mortal soul?
It can.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
I saw that you're in love with him because I saw you dancing in the gym. You both kicked off your shoes. Man, I dig those rhythm and blues.
Yeah.
So they're kicking off your shoes.
The sock hop.
Yeah, the sock hop. You had to take your shoes off because you jack up the basketball floor. And like, why does he say, "I dig those rhythm and blues"?
I was trying to figure it out when we were listening.
I think it's because it's the first time he's hearing it.
Maybe. Yeah, it's in the gym.
It's like I remember the first time I heard rock and roll. And maybe that's what he's at the dance and he hears for the first time.
And then, so I was a lonely teenage Bronco buck with a Pink Carnation and a pickup truck, but I knew I was out of luck the day the music died. So that's a reference to it's a Marty Robbins song called "White Sport Coat and a Pink Carnation." Let's listen to 30 seconds of that. It's about a guy who gets all dressed up to go to his prom and he doesn't get the girl.
In romance, once you told me long ago, to the prom with me you'd go. Now you've changed your mind, it seems. Someone else will hold my dreams. A white sport coat and a pink carnation.
No, but that's what's happening to him at the dance.
Same thing, man. I'm dressed up for I'm dressed up for love, and I'm not getting the girl. Yeah, it's the exact same story.
So he just getting the pickup truck with a Pink Carnation on.
Yeah,
driving away from going down to the levee, hanging with the boys.
What year did that song come out?
57. So 2 years before Buddy Holly died.
Yeah, so 57. So you think about like 10 years from then, what they're writing about that, how music has changed. And this is So this is probably like a popular song. And the biggest problem this kid has is like, oh, he's getting like you didn't get the girl. 10 years from now, what are big artists writing about? It's just amazing how music changed.
It's also interesting. Jimmy Buffett has an album called "A White Sport Coat and a Pink Crustacean." That's where that came from.
Right.
So,
yeah. No, I just think it's more of your innocence of your childhood, not getting the girl at the dance. I think everybody's been there. Sure. Maybe I've been there more than some others.
But that's also the biggest heartbreak he faces is he doesn't get the girl to dance.
Yeah.
Right. Compared to what happens in the rest of the song.
There's nothing like that first heartbreak.
Yeah. It's true. It's true.
It's so, it made his song.
Yeah. All right. We're going to play the chorus again, and we're going to play the next verse, and that's probably going to be a little long, but we're going to deal with it and hopefully not get sued by Mr. McClean.
He has
we
enough
are
money.
trying to talk about money. It, so.
The music died. I started singing bye bye Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. Them good old boys were drinking whiskey and rye and singing, "This'll be the day that I die. This'll be the day that I die." Now for 10 years we've been on our own, and moss grows fat on a rolling stone, but that's not how it used to be. When the jester sang for the king and queen in a coat he borrowed from James Dean, and a voice that came from you and me. Oh, and while the king was looking down, the jester stole his thorny crown. The courtroom was adjourned. No verdict was returned,
Yeah, I know. There's
All right, now it gets
Go
complicated,
down the rabbit
right?
hole. Yeah.
I don't think it matters anything at this point, but the chorus, it started like the first chorus was like, so bye bye Miss American Pie. Now he's saying I started singing bye bye Miss American Pie, because that beginning right there, that changes a couple times in the song, and I think it becomes important a little bit later. But I just wanted to point that out. So
it's like unbelievable, the next verse.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought the first verse was something.
Yeah.
The second verse,
dude.
now what he's going, he's like, now 10 years we've been on our own, meaning 10 years without Big Bopper,
Right.
Yeah.
Richie
It's
Valens,
10 years
and Buddy
later.
Holly.
so now it's 69,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So we're 10 years in. So
It's like, the next verse is, when the jester sang for the king and queen. Well, the jester's Bob Dylan.
right,
And the king and queen is...
could be anybody. There's a couple.
Well, the king and queen was Seeger and Baez. Joan Baez.
Let's finish on the Moss. Let's finish the first line. So now for 10 years we've been on our own, and moss grows fat on a Rolling Stone, but that's not how it used to be.
So is he talking about like Dylan, like Rolling Stone?
I think he is.
So
Then what's the moss then?
one could be Bob Dylan, like a Rolling Stone, right? That's
Yeah.
the first thing that brings
Yeah.
your mind, like here.
Once upon a time, you dressed so fine. How does it feel? How does it feel to be without a home? Like a complete unknown. Like a rolling stone.
So that's the one that I thought of
course.
growing up.
Yeah, it's the most
right?
popular
Maybe-
Rolling- yeah.
So I get something else. Here's a Buddy Holly song called "Early in the Morning," and there's a line in the song that goes, "Well, a Rolling Stone don't gather no moss." So a Rolling Stone don't gather no moss, but the Rolling Stone does gather moss now because Buddy Holly's dead.
Right.
So here's a little bit of that.
How about that?
Well, the time you lied, well, you're gonna miss me early in the morning, one of these days. Oh, yeah. Well, a Rolling Stone don't gather no moss, and you cross your bridge when it's time to cross.
It's brilliant songwriting for Don McClean to use that.
Right. I got another one. So, and then there's also Hendrix, Highway Chili, that says, everybody knows the boss, a Rolling Stone
Yeah.
gathers no moss.
Right.
A flaming head just a blowing in the wind. Ain't seen a bed in so long, it's a sin. He left home when he was 17. The rest of the world he long to see. And everybody knows boss. A Rolling Stone gathers no moss. Now you probably
I got one more.
Okay.
The Rolling Stone, the Rolling Stones, the band.
Right.
They don't gather no moss. But maybe one of the Rolling Stones, moss was growing fat because he was dead.
Yeah.
And it was Brian Jones,
Jones,
who
yeah,
died
Brian
in
Jones, yeah.
He died in 69
Yeah.
when
Nice.
when we move forward. So
It's brilliant songwriting. It really is. On all three of those things,
They
just
all
brought-
make sense.
Dude, he
Totally.
possibly could mean all three of those
And
things.
I didn't come up with any of this shit on my own. This is
Yeah.
like just
Yeah.
research, and I'm not,
Yeah.
Ryan's calling me the professor, but
You are the professor.
I'm just regurgitating stuff.
Holy
Every one of
moly.
those, man, I was like, wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
I've never put that. Of course, I never listened to that close to it.
I never thought anything about moss
Yeah.
grows on fat of the Rolling Stones.
But it's
Right.
just like, dude, all three of those things make sense.
Yeah.
And it's very possible that he can, by McClean using that verse, could very well be like reference to those three songs.
Yeah,
Like,
to me, I thought
or
it was.
just three
I think
things.
it's either Dylan or the Buddy Holly song.
yeah.
to me.
I think
Yeah.
it's more of a Dylan thing because this whole verse is about Dylan.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into the Jester. So the Jester sang for the King and Queen and Cody Bard from James Dean. So
Yeah.
he said that Dylan is the Jester,
Yes.
right? Because
Yeah.
Dylan has even responded to it.
Yeah.
Dylan has said like a Jester. Oh yeah, the Jester writes songs like "Masters of War," "A Hard Rain's Gonna Fall," and "It's All Right, Ma." Some Jester. So Dylan's a little salty about it. But
Yeah.
But I think the Jester is playing, like I said, playing for the King and Queen is Pete Seeger and Joan Baez. They're like the royalty of folk music before Dylan came in.
So he's saying that Dylan's play.
He's the new.
He's
the new.
They're the old. He's
They're
the new.
They're the king and queen of folk music.
Right.
Well, I'm the Jesus Christ of folk music.
Right.
Yeah.
The voice that came from you and me is like folk music.
Gotcha.
But people have said that could be. Could it be Elvis? Like, but then
but it doesn't kind of make sense in the timeline for the Elvis. If he's talking about the Jester,
he's still talking about Dylan though. It's like when the Jester sang for the King and Queen in a coat that he borrowed from James Dean, which is the cover of Freewheelin' of Bob Dylan, and he's walking down the street not with a red coat but with a brown coat, and he's laughing freely,
which looks very similar to what James Dean is wearing in Rebel Without a Cause. I mean, I read one argument that the king was Elvis and the queen was Queen Elizabeth, because when Freewheelin' Bob Dylan comes out, Dylan then goes and tours the UK, so he was like performing before the queen. I think that's a stretch. People say it was JFK, and Jackie. Some people say it was Martin Luther King. He's the king, and then the queen would be Jackie Kennedy, or Corona Scott King, Jesus Christ, or Coretta Scott King and Dr. Martin Luther King. I think the Seeger thing. I never heard that before.
I read that.
Made sense.
I read that.
Yeah,
for just because he's talking about Dylan, he's talking about how this new guy's coming through, and he's the new voice. He's the new everything. Dylan was,
and that makes more sense to McClean's life, because this is all about McClean's feelings. This is all about his growing up. So that makes more sense for that reference more than any other of them.
And then the next verse, he goes, "Oh, and while the king was looking down, the jester stole his thorny crown," meaning Elvis.
Yeah. Well, I think the Pete Seeger thing. Pete Seeger was McClean's mentor.
Okay,
so that makes a lot of sense, and also like he craps on the Byrds later, like this folk rock music, and I think he thinks that Dylan is more like this kind of different, authentic thing. But yeah, so the king was looking down, the jester stole his thorny crown. I agree. I think that's Elvis.
That's Elvis.
Yeah, I think it is too.
Being like Dylan's like way over his head.
Sure.
Yeah, and by 69, Elvis is kind of he's fallen out of the spotlight. I do think it's interesting, man. This is where I went on my own with some of the lyrics. Like he stole his thorny crown.
Yeah.
So the thorny crown is like what they put on Jesus to mock him.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so it's not an authentic crown. Like,
no, but
you think you're the king, and then they beat it on him.
Well, I think it's a thorny crown because it's a heavy crown to wear. Like, I'm the king of rock and roll. It's a heavy crown to wear. That's what they say, right?
Yeah.
Heavy waist the crown. But then they put the crown on Dylan, and it's more of a thorn crown.
Yeah, because they're mocking him. Because like here's
Dylan. To Dylan, he isn't the king.
No, he's not.
But they're putting him through pain.
Yeah. Because you have Elvis, who very luxurious lifestyle and this and that and the glitz, the glam, and here's Dylan, who's a folk singer.
Dylan didn't want to be the savior of rock and roll,
but that's why But the thorny crown references like the Jesus Christ kind of thing. Like Jesus Christ said, "I'm just a man like everybody else. I'm no king. I'm no this. I'm no that." When
that's
Elvis,
what Dylan was saying.
But that's what the reference is then.
Right, but I look at it as like they put the thorny crown, like the Romans mocking Jesus, they put it on Elvis, like, oh, okay, compared to Buddy Holly, you're the new savior of rock and roll.
Yeah, okay.
Here, we're going to put this crown on you. But maybe Don McClean is being like, you're fraud. You're so about materialism and stuff. But
yeah. But I think the real crown was like, the thorny crowns was with Dylan.
Okay.
Yeah, that's just what I believe.
Well, and
that's up for interpretation.
Right, that's why the song is so great.
Yeah. Crazy.
The next is the courtroom was adjourned. The no verdict was returned. I think that was a JFK thing. There was never a jury because Oswald was killed.
Yeah, you said that sometime like during the last couple of weeks. You messaged me that, and that makes a lot of sense because at some point the song does start spilling into like becoming about like politics and everything. It could be the court. Like, did we ever settle the debate because Elvis and Dylan, like they, when Elvis came back, he was in a completely different thing, but. It could be that Jack Ruby killed Lee Harvey Oswald, and we never got closure to that. That makes sense to me.
It's crazy.
It's you got to think everything is going on at that time. Like that's most likely a possibility, but who knows? Like, other cases were going on. Like, I don't know.
Although the
I don't
timing doesn't work, because right, JFK was in 63 and we're supposed to be in 69, but it's plausible. I mean,
I think it's deeper than that, than the JFK thing. There had to be some kind of like big thing that happened in the world.
Yeah, JFK was shot.
No, I understand that, but like you said, it doesn't fit the timeline. Well, I guess it does. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's a lot.
JFK getting shat is like the end of the innocence,
dude. I understand that, but I'm just questioning that maybe it has to do with another court case that
that we're missing.
Yeah.
The next line, man, the first one in the next little stanza is is weird. So, while Lennon read a book on Marx, the quartet practiced in the park. We sang dirges in the dark the day the music died.
He says Lenin like Lenin.
Right. Right.
Joseph Lenin.
Everyone. Vladimir Lenin.
Vladimir Lenin. I'm sorry. Yeah.
You're thinking Joseph Stalin.
That's
Vladimir Lenin. But I think when everybody hears it, they think John Lennon.
Yeah. Like listening to or reading about Marx could be a million
Groucho
different
Marx,
Groucho Marx or
Right. I mean, Imagine came out in the same year as this song, and it does kind of have a little bit of a communist vibe to it, but I don't. Like, Vladimir Lenin died in 1924,
right.
So I mean, who? It could just be. I mean, you've got the communism scares going on, right? You got a lot of other kind of stuff going on.
Yeah, totally. I mean, even during the baby boomers thing, the communism thing was huge. They thought everybody was a commie in Hollywood, in music,
Right. If nothing, it's provocative. It makes you stop and think like, okay, like when we were doing this, I was curious to see the notes like, okay, which Lenin is in the lyrics? Is it John Lennon's spelling or is it Vladimir Lenin?
I saw it earlier this week and I saw how they spelt it. And I was like, they're talking about Vladimir.
Yeah.
I think he is anyway. Who knows?
Yeah, and I don't think it's Groucho Marx or
I think
brothers.
Maybe it's a reference to a picture that he saw of him reading Lenin reading a book or by some author. I don't know.
Marx is a famous writer.
Yeah. Is he? Yeah, Karl Marx was the founder of like communist thought.
Oh, well, there you go.
The quartet in the park. Yeah, we all agree that's the Beatles.
I don't know.
Where's
the park fit in?
I thought it was
Strawberry Fields, maybe.
I thought it was Candlestick Park.
That's what maybe
that they were trying to play and they got drowned out.
Maybe
the quartet practiced in the park and we sang "The Green in the Dark" the day the music died. Yeah, totally. Candlestick, they got blown out at Candlestick Park, and that was the last time they ever played live.
Right. I read the dirges in the dark could have been the JFK assassination. Right, like we're all bummed out. JFK died. Martin Luther King died. There was also something weird that there was like a really, really big power outage. Remember like 5 years ago, there was like the huge power outage, like all of like New York.
I was in that.
Went out.
I was there.
There was something like that happened in the 60s. So it was like, is that it? I don't know. But by the time we go into the verse, we were singing Bye Bye Miss American Pie. Now everybody's singing it. And the world is in a much darker place, right? We've got communism, we've got dirges, we've got thorny crowns, and we've got no verdict coming from the courthouse. Definitely a darker world.
The world's changing around them.
Yeah, right.
That's what I think this song is about.
Yeah, the world changing around very fast.
The world
10
losing
years,
its innocence. Yeah. So, all right, so we're gonna play the chorus and the next verse again. I think it's important to note in the chorus we were singing. Now it's not just him.
The music died. We were singing Bye Bye Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. Them good old boys were drinking whiskey and rye and singing, this'll be the day that I die. This'll be the day that I die. Helter skelter in the summer swelter, the birds flew off with a fallout shelter. 8 miles high and falling fast. It landed foul on the grass. The players tried for a forward pass with the jester on the sidelines in a cast. Now the halftime air was sweet perfume while the sergeants played a marching tune. We all got up to dance, but we
Yeah, there's
shit.
a lot going on.
Yeah,
there.
we got
Every time we come back
God.
from these verses, like holy shit!
yeah. All right, so
All right, we're okay with the Helter Skelter in Summer Swell. That's Manson.
right, the Manson murders. Let's play a little bit of the Beatles' Helter Skelter. Dude, this is a great song, man. I was listening to this driving over here. I really like this song. And the fact that McCartney was like, I'm just going to write this going on something heavier than The Who.
Yeah.
Don't you want me to love you? I'm coming down fast, but I'm miles above you. Tell me, come on, tell me the answer. Well, you may be a lover, but you ain't no dancer. No, Helter Skelter. Helter Skelter.
I love that version.
Dude,
what is that?
that's-
What is that on?
The remastered for the White Album.
Yeah, that's
the,
great.
The bass is really driving.
Dude, it's so raw. It's really raw.
It's a great song,
Yeah.
man. But yeah, so that was Charles Manson thought that song was reference to the pending race war that he was going to
Man, he was out
Create-
of his fucking mind, man.
when he murdered Sharon
Holy
Tate.
shit.
Man, she was beautiful.
She
man.
was.
She really was.
Yeah.
I feel kind of dirty looking at pictures of her being like
No,
how attractive she was.
She was. She was a movie
so
star.
horrible what happened to her.
And everybody else. That
And
was with her.
right. And
That was
everyone
there.
else
Yeah.
that did pass
Yeah.
right. I don't want to
Yeah, yeah.
just focus on her because
That's a whole other podcast.
Yeah, right.
The next verse, the birds flew off with a fallout shelter, 8 miles high and a falling fast. They landed, fell on the grass. The Birds is a band. They had a song called
8 Miles High.
8 Miles High. Thank you,
Yeah.
Bruce.
Here you go.
And it was real psychedelic. It was like one of the first psychedelic songs to come out. And it was banned. It was like on the thing, and then like whoever the PMRC at the time banned the song because they thought it was a bad
drugs.
influence on drugs and everything.
Yeah. Here, let's play a
I
little
never
bit
heard
of it.
that. I don't know the song.
Miles high, and when you touch down, you'll find that it's stranger than known.
That's classic that California Valley.
Yeah,
sound.
I am not a fan at all.
Really? Do you like
it's-
Buffalo Springfield or any of that stuff that came out of that?
Yeah, but this
It's
song,
too
I thank
psychedelic.
God it was the beginning guitar was sloppy as shit. Like maybe that's what he's going for. It's drugs, it's this, it's that. I never liked the Birds. Like I'm a big like hippie at heart, but the Birds I never got, man.
The Birds are a great band, I think.
Yeah.
Mr.
No.
Tambourine Man, their cover, Mr. Tambourine
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, that song sucks too.
So I thought one thing was interesting in this. They said like the birds flew off with a fallout shelter. I always thought it said like the birds flew off to a fallout shelter.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, they're like, fallout shelter and nuclear war in the 60s and everything. And then I read that like a fallout shelter was also slang for like drug rehab back in the 60s. And David Crosby was in the Birds,
Sure.
even though he says it wasn't a drug song. Like Ryan said, the song was banned for being referenced to drugs. And I took it as like 8 Miles High and Falling Fast is like they stink and they're kind of just going downhill really fast. Like they're not the band that they're not stealing the crown from Elvis.
No.
They're another band.
They're like
that-
a flash in the pan.
Yeah, I think-
like how grunge was.
yeah, like they're falling like
It's-
a rock.
Yeah, it's just like a thing that's going to come and go.
Yeah, that's how I interpret that McClean's kind of crapping on that type of music. And then it landed foul on the grass. The players tried for a forward pass with the jester on the sideline in a cast.
That first confuses me.
I get the cast part. That's Dylan being in the motorcycle accident.
Right. Which we could do a whole show on that.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
Like I started going down a rabbit hole a little bit about that. But
who's the player tried for a forward pass?
so, and what, like, landed foul on the grass. So foul, that makes me think of baseball.
Of course, yeah.
But then a forward pass is football.
So you think like at that time? I'm thinking like Joe Namath. That's about his time? I don't
Maybe.
I don't
yeah.
know. Like, cause he's the biggest player in the sport. He's bigger than the sport himself.
So there's some sort of competition going on but something's not right. It went foul. So I read it could be youth in society, that the kids of the late 60s, they're trying to move forward, but
they're trying to move forward, and Dylan's sitting on the sidelines with a cast, like while Woodstock's going on.
So he can't help them. He's not the voice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because he's sitting out like a sport.
Yeah.
He's sitting on the sidelines watching the whole world go by, like music changing because he's not doing anything.
He's like he's off the field, literally with music. It could be like the music industry is trying to get its act together and not have this stuff like the birds that he's not looking to. But Dylan can't.
He's not capable.
The birds are now like the folk rock, and Dylan isn't, because Dylan's on the sideline with a broken leg.
So kind of like the king's away, like, you know what I mean. So like the peasants will play, like, like nobody's taking music serious at that point. I don't know.
It's a really weird. It's a weird verse to kind of dissect.
It's crazy, man.
It is. And then now the halftime air was Sweet Perfume, while the Sergeants played a marching tune.
Is that the Beatles?
It could be the Sergeant Pepper.
But
I think they mentioned Sergeant Pepper kind of later on.
I think so too.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's something else.
So it's a Sweet Perfume, like
I thought it was,
maybe
pot. I read it was either smoking
marijuana,
weed, or they're talking about there were huge riots in Chicago in '68.
And
it's tear gas. It's
or napalm. Didn't they say napalm smell like perfume?
It could be right. I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
Vietnam's happening.
Yeah, that's a good point. So it could be like the players are trying for a forward pass. They're trying to protest Nam. And then, but the halftime of the protest was Sweet Perfume, because there's tear gas going off. The Sergeants could be, it's either the Beatles, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band, because they're in those marching band.
But they said they talk about the Sgt. Pepper later, but it could be the riots, and the sergeants are the police officers.
Correct. Right.
Or
National Guard or any
Kent State.
Military.
It could have been Kent State. Right. When those poor kids got shot.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe that's a reference. Yeah.
Right. I always thought, as a kid, I always thought the Beatles, and that was the Beatles, like the marching tune. But yeah, the Sergeants, it could be any of those.
Yeah.
Like all the unrest that's going on by now in the late 60s. And you go back, 10 years ago, we're at the sock hop.
Yeah.
Right. And
now kids are getting shot at college.
Right. Right. We're at the sock hop with the Carnation, bummed out that we can't dance. We want to learn how to dance real slow. And now we're
here. Yeah.
Right. We're getting shot.
Yeah.
Boy, that escalated quickly. We all got up to dance, but we never got the chance because the players tried to take the field and the marching band refused to yield. The kids want to dance, like in the first verse.
The kids want to dance because the players tried to take the field. The marching band refused to yield. Do you recall what was revealed? I don't know, guys. I think it's more of, again, it's like music used to be dancing for, and now it's to stand and listen to.
But you know what? It's interesting. He's like, do you recall what was revealed the day the music died? What was revealed? I think that might be
innocence.
Maybe like that could just be something that Don McClean just knows himself. Like, this is
sure. He says, he's very vocal about.
Do you remember do you remember what was revealed the day the music died, or like another day in music died? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, no. That's totally
like something was, because he's asking people, do you remember what was revealed the day the music died?
Right. No, I agree. So I read everything from we all got up to dance, we never got the chance, is again the Beatles at Candlestick Park, because that show was only a half hour and we never got it. It also could be, the players tried to take the field, the marching band refused to yield. It's like, well, the players are not on the field anymore. It could have been, we just talked about the halftime. That could be bands trying to get into, the players tried to take the field, but the marching band refused to yield. That could be the Beatles are so big that if you don't sound like the Beatles, you ain't getting on the field.
Right. And they're not
music.
stopping.
Right. You're out. It could be the people trying to protest Nam. The marching band is now the police or the National Guard. And we tried to take the field, and you're getting the wood shampoo. I think that is the key line of the whole song. Do you recall what was revealed the day the music died? Like, the innocence of America is over.
I like the fact that the day the music died, he's on referring to the day that music died. It isn't necessarily the day that Buddy Holly and the plane went down. Day the music died are different days in his life. Like big things that changed, like in the world, or big things that happened in this country. You know, I don't know.
I don't know. It was, it was famously called The Day the Music Died.
Yeah.
Like, that was like the headlines,
But I think he's taken things like other incidences that happened in history were just as big.
The music died.
Were just as big as the day the music
like
died.
me getting dumped by the girl at the dance is me part of the music dying.
Yeah. It's just like major incidences in his life.
Right.
You know?
No, I totally agree, man.
Yeah,
I totally
crazy.
agree. Yeah, this is definitely, it's morphed into, it's about politics and what's going on with society
absolutely.
and youth and everything else.
Yeah, it's not just about music. You know? It's not just about music.
He says, because the players tried to take the field, the marching band refused to yield. Dude, to me, that's Kent State.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, the marching band is the kids going there. The players try to take the field, the kids protesting, and the marching band being the army. Or the National Guard that was out there. They were basically a marching band that was out there with guns.
All right. Next to last verse. So we're going to go back into the chorus. And now the last one was We Were Singing. Now it's We Started Singing. Bye Bye Miss American Pie. And then we go into another verse.
We started singing Bye Bye Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. Then good old boys were drinking whiskey and rye and singing, this'll be the day that I die. This'll be the day that I die. Oh, and there we were all in one place, a generation lost in space with no time left to start again. So come on, Jack, be nimble, Jack, be quick. Jack Flash sat on a candlestick, 'cause fire is the devil's only friend. Oh, and as I watched him on the stage, my hands were clenched in fists of rage. No angel born in hell could break that Satan's spell. And as the flames climbed high into the night to light the sacrificial rite, I saw Satan laughing with delight the day the music died. He was singing Bye Bye Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. And good old boys were drinking whiskey and rye and singing, this'll be the day that I die. This'll be the day that I die.
And then he starts talking, and there we were all lost in one place, a generation lost space. Of course, he's talking about the space race.
I think there we were all in one place is Woodstock.
Okay, yeah, and everybody's...
But a generation lost in space could be, I thought, like they're all high as hell.
I thought maybe it was like we're all here to whatever it is, and we're all lost in space. Maybe they're all watching TV, watching the show Lost in Space.
That was popular too, and also we landed in the moon in '69.
But that was always my interpretation.
There we
the
were
moon
all
landing.
in one place, a generation lost in space with no time left to start again.
The whole country was infatuated with the space race, getting to the moon. And there we all in one place, meaning watching in television. Lost in space, meaning what? Like here we are watching on television has never been seen before. Like this one man,
Maybe it was like how sci-fi was the new thing,
like the concept of like the boob tube. Like I'm gonna tune in and tune out.
Yeah, we don't have to go to space because we're on space on TV already. Right. You know.
Yeah, dude. I think all three of those are viable. It could be Woodstock. It could be the space race. It could be the just the watching TV. It could be watching Lost in Space. No time left to start again. If you go with the Woodstock thing, it's like, all right, you guys are you're sitting around just smoking weed and you kind of lost your shot, dude. It kind of like, it's over for you guys. This is also the end of the Summer of Love because the next line is
Jack be nimble, Jack be quick, Jack Flash, jumping Jack Flash.
Okay. I think we're at Altamont. I've also read that Jack is Jack Kennedy and he's dancing and getting us out of the Cuban Missile Crisis, but the timing doesn't work because we're like 69, 70, and Kennedy died in 63.
Yeah.
But
so I think Ryan might be right. I think it's about the Stones.
Yeah. All right. So I think we're going to Altamont. Let's play a little bit of Jumpin' Jack Flash. Altamont was kind of like the West counter to Woodstock, right? And the Stones very famously or infamously hired the Hells Angels provide security. They paid them like $500 and unlimited
beer.
Unlimited beer backstage.
And a fucking lot of acid.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
At the recommendation of the Grateful Dead. And
Yes.
the Hells Angels wound up stabbing a guy to death, a Meredith Hunter. And there were also 3 other people that were killed there. 2 people were in a hit and run, and 1 person got high on LSD and drowned in a ditch. It's a hell of a way to go. But the Stones opened that set at Altamont with Jumpin' Jack Flash. So I think that's appropriate that's the reference. And then, because fire is the devil's only friend, I think that could either be Sympathy for the Devil,
Right.
or I also thought it could be Friend of the Devil by the Dead.
Yeah.
Because, fire is the devil's only friend. I'll play a little bit of that.
Yeah.
The Grateful Dead.
You're gonna hear us, you're going to hear us all.
Right, and the Dead were there, and the Dead also were the ones that said, hey, you should hire these guys. Yeah.
I lit out from Reno, I was trailed by 20 hounds. Didn't get to sleep that night till the morning came around. Set out to run, but I take my time. A friend of the devil is a friend of mine. I get home before daylight, just might get some sleep tonight.
Yeah, you could totally put that together with the devil. Grateful Dead was at Altamont, and they decided they weren't going to play because the Hells Angels were getting too rough.
And they recommended them.
And you said this before, right?
And
you thought they should have played and just try to chill everybody out.
I think from just an observer from history, it seemed like, okay, the Grateful Dead didn't go on. So there was like 2.5 hours of an intermission before the Stones went on at later in the evening. Dude, everybody was getting hostile. Everybody was drinking. The Hells Angels were beating everybody up. I thought, instead of the Grateful Dead piecing out and saying we're not playing because there's too much shit going on, I think they should have played, and they could have maybe calmed everything down. They could have went out and played 2 sets, did the Grateful Dead thing, calm everybody down, and then, it would have been a great situation for the Stones to come out and play. Yeah. I'm a huge Grateful Dead fan, but as I said on the show before, I think they fucked that up. Yeah. I think they're
just as much to blame.
Yeah. I don't know if it's them to blame, but they fucked up because they could have calmed everybody down.
Yeah,
they could have totally did something. They just decided to Axl Rose it.
Yeah. Yeah, and so people died.
People died over it for sitting around drinking and
Wait for the Stones.
Getting a little agitated and come on already. Come on, why aren't they on yet?
Yeah.
And then the other song was Sympathy for the Devil. Should we play some of that?
Yeah.
I guess,
always.
Sure.
When Jesus Christ had his moment of doubt and pain, made damn sure the pilot washed his hands and sealed his face. Pleased to meet you, hope you guess my name. But what's puzzling you is the nature of my game.
Altamont was the end of the peace and love generation of the 60s.
Yeah,
man.
it was over.
It was over.
That's another show that we could put on the list, man.
About
we did
Altamont.
we did Monterey and kind of the happy hippie vibe and just the
Nightmare.
Yeah, how it came crashing down at Altamont.
That was a bad idea from the start off, man.
Yeah.
Dude, when they start canceling it because the first venue got pulled because the guy was like, fuck this isn't gonna happen.
Right.
Not on my watch. And then they went to Altamont and they were like, yeah, dude, we'll throw this concert. And it was like in 2 days they moved the concert to one spot to the other. It's crazy what people will do for rock and roll, man. Yeah. But Altamont is a big part of this song.
Yeah. So you think those 3 verses are about Altamont? Because it's like, oh, and I watched him on the stage. My hands were clenched in fist and rage. No angel born in hell, the Hells Angels, could break that Satan spell.
Yeah, I think he is. I think Don McClean is seeing this. He's furious at Mick Jagger. He thinks Mick Jagger is the devil.
blame.
He's the devil, right? He's like, no angel could break that Satan spell.
No
He's
angels
like,
born in hell.
Right.
You know,
You've gone.
Hell's angels.
I said that Mick was the devil before.
Yeah.
He's gone from. You're right.
I said that he was the devil for Robert Johnson.
Right.
Yeah.
We've gone from the sock hop and the innocence to now people are being murdered at a rock show and this dude is on stage. I mean, there's always been the thing like he was smirking when the guy was getting stabbed.
Oh God.
Sure.
Like that's been 50 years ago,
like,
and it's still.
He's like,
He's like, I saw Satan laughing with delight.
I don't know if he was smiling and scared at the same time.
It's a natural reaction.
It is to watch Mick, like his face while all that shit's going on, and he's like, holy shit, I can't believe this.
Yeah.
And then he goes back into Mick Jagger land and starts clapping and jumping around and shit.
Right. So,
And then he ends it with the day the music died. So there's a theory of these are earth-shattering big events. And he's like, well, here's another day the music died.
Right.
You know?
The flames climbed as the flames climbed high into the night, just like the sacrificial light. I saw Satan laughing with the light the day the music died. Right.
Yeah.
So here's another day.
Yeah.
And also, I think the chorus, I wanted to play the chorus with this verse because it was interesting, because then it becomes, he was singing Bye Bye Miss America, but so Satan is now singing Bye Bye Miss America Pie. But you're right. He is the day the music. This is another day the music died. This is the day. Like, I mean, historically and culturally, we just said this is the end of the '60s.
Sure.
This is the end of the piece. This is another day that the music died.
Yeah.
Another nail in the coffin.
Yeah.
Or that everything changed. And also thinking about it, and the whole way back. I mean, Satan was probably laughing the day Buddy Holly died, and the Big Bopper and Richie Valens too. Yeah. So like, well, they said that. I saw Satan laughing with delight. Is Mick Jagger Satan? Right? Because they've always said, like, was he laughing on stage?
The delight thing? Like, the delight is being like,
he was the leader of it all. He was standing up there as the leader.
Well,
right. Is he the one singing Bye Bye Miss America?
Who's the head of Hell's Angels in charge of all those guys when this was going on? He's fucking famous, but he's a piece of shit. But
is he our shitbag of the week?
He's shitbag of the fucking decade. Of that decade,
I think Mick Jagger is.
Mick Jagger, shitbag of the week.
But so I think they might be. I forget his name, whatever the Hell's Angels name is. So maybe he's looking. He's smiling in delight because this is what his gang is doing. They're murdering somebody.
Okay,
I don't know. All
right, hang on. We're gonna give Mick Jagger shitbag of the week. Shitbag of the week. Dun, dun, dun.
Mick, I'll go see you anytime you come around. I don't care.
Mick.
I love you.
But you fucked Altamont up, dude.
Yeah. I'd never thought of that it could be the head of the Hells Angels, dude, but that's a really interesting point.
Yeah.
Like, it absolutely could be like guys high on PCP and drunk on
God,
they're
all so high. And they're so, like, in a bad way.
Yeah.
Not in a good way, in a bad way.
Yeah, man.
They're a bunch of outlaws. They're fucking pieces of shit.
Yep. All right, you want to bring it? We'll play the last verse, and then we'll talk about that, and we'll play the last chorus. Here you go.
I met a girl who sang the blues, and I asked her for some happy news, but she just smiled and turned away. I went down to the sacred store where I'd heard the music years before, but the man there said the music wouldn't play. And in the streets the children screamed, the lovers cried and the poets dreamed, but not a word was spoken. The church bells all were broken, and the three men I admire most, the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, they caught the last train for the coast the day the music died.
Man.
So who's the girl who sang the blues?
Janice.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think it's Janis Joplin. She doesn't speak. She smiles and she turns away.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, is it the ghost of Janis Joplin? Is Janis already dead? I think Janis died in 70. I don't know. I never thought about that.
Is it possible that he might have met her at one time? Had a show? I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? But she was such an influence on rock and roll.
Yeah.
She died. Another day the music died.
I asked her for some happy news, and she just turned around. She just smiled and turned around and walked away.
She just overdosed.
I got nothing. Right?
Yeah.
She doesn't have any happy news.
Yeah.
And then the Sacred Store, where I heard the music years before, that's the record store, right?
They stopped playing samples of
Yeah.
music,
Or-
like a listening station. You'd be able to go in and listen to the 45. But then they stopped doing that because obviously everybody would go in and listen and not buy it and jet out.
I always thought it was like kind of like, you know, like a soda shop, and he goes back all these years back, and maybe
Like
maybe the jukebox is broken. Maybe they don't have the jukebox anymore. You know,
Sure, dude. Like,
you know, because
like
he says he's like, then I went to the Sacred Store.
Yeah, the record store is the Sacred Store.
But it could be. I could see that being like
but,
you go.
but I'm looking at him like the sacred place of where I first heard all, like where I discovered
like
religion.
the drive-in,
yeah, I mean,
kind of the drive-in restaurant with the ice cream.
yeah, or like, you know,
Sure.
who knows? Who knows?
Sure.
You know, I always took it that way though.
No, that's and then in the streets, the children scream, the lovers cried, the poets dream. I put on here the children screaming could be Kent State.
Yeah.
It could be that famous picture of the little girl,
The Vietnam picture.
Yeah, the girl in
Yeah.
Nam who's been napalmed.
Yeah.
And she's naked running down the
Yeah.
street. Not a word was spoken. The church bells were broken. So we were going back to religious imagery. We've had like the thorny crown. We've had Satan. And now we've heard that the church bells are broken. So America's lost. America's forgotten about God. And not a word was spoken. So I did have not a word was spoken could be a reference to The Sound of Silence by Simon and Garfunkel.
Okay.
So tee that up.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again, because a vision softly creeping left its seeds while I was sleeping, and the vision that was planted in my brain still remains within the sound of silence.
I hate that cover. Who's that band that does it?
Disturbed.
They suck, dude.
Do you like that version, Doug?
I do. And Paul Simon reached out to them, or him, whatever the singer's name is, and gave him, he was
Permission?
like, you did the song justice. And he said that it was the most difficult song he ever had to sing. And he pulled it off. And it's, dude, who could do that? Dude,
It's a really dark song.
Yeah,
and
it
it's
is.
and
it's
Disturbed
really,
should do it.
It's
Like,
the
you know,
first fucking
Yeah,
verse.
yeah.
Hello, darkness. It's, you know.
Right. But
Hello,
it's like,
Dark is my old friend. Yeah.
but Simon and Garfunkel singing, it's so fragile sounding.
It
right?
sounds
it's like,
more happy than, not happy, but like more
folky. It's folky, and he's
yeah.
been talking about folk music the
Yeah.
whole like
Yeah.
Dylan and the Birds and Pete Seeger.
and how folk music's changing
Yeah,
again.
Yeah.
All right, that's got to be a reference to that. I'm
But
hit
To
the
put
gavel.
it in the book.
right.
In Rock and Roll Archaeology, he talked about that. He talked about
That
the Simon
song,
and
yeah,
and
yeah.
like the meaning behind it and all that. And
yeah,
it's
it's so the world is just everything is just ruined. I mean,
Yeah.
from where we
Yeah,
started, if you go back to the first two verses now, and the kids are screaming in the streets, and the church bells don't work, and the lovers are crying, and you ask for some happy news, and the music's not playing. Like, it's apocalyptic in terms of what's going on in the song.
like the lovers crying, like, you know, the hippies, the 60s are over, man. Like, you know what I mean?
right, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right
So,
on, man. Right on.
You know,
I love the next part. It says, the three men that I admire most, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. I love that.
Yeah,
now,
They
what is,
caught the last train for the coast.
now, who is he talking about? Is he talking about the Big Bopper, Richie Valens, and Buddy Holly? Or is he talking about JFK, RFK, and MLK?
It could be, yeah, man. Or is it just legit the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost?
Maybe.
Because the church bells are broken, right? So God, like maybe they were like, okay, we're out. You're not paying attention to us anymore. I wrote all those down.
but they took the last train for the coast. So he's talking about three people.
right,
You know, like,
Right.
To the coast is California.
yeah.
You know?
I took that like, they're out of here. It could be metaphorically that like Buddy Holly and Richie Valens, the Big Bopper, are like, they got out of here before things got really bad, even though that
They got off
They're
lucky
dead.
kind of
Yeah.
thing?
Yeah.
Where's the coast at, though?
but they're
Like their dream died.
I mean,
yeah. Like I don't know,
I think it might be
metaphysical coast.
I think it might be a little bit deeper than that, to be honest with you. He's like the three men I admire most: the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. Yeah, they caught the last train for the coast the day the music died. So this is again, the day the music died is going back to the day the music died. So somebody moved to California. I don't know. Maybe was it a sports team? Was it like,
I don't know.
You know,
it could have been the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost are out because they just saw Satan laughing with delight and people are getting murdered. And they're like, all right, this is how you got, we gave you guys free will and this is how you're going to take it. We're out. Like,
maybe talk about Motown going to California.
Maybe they're talking about the Brooklyn Dodgers moving to LA.
I was thinking that also, but Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, who's that?
Yeah. The three men that he admires the most. Right. It could be just because it rhymes. And then, so you go into the last chorus but if you put them both together, they caught the last train for the coast the day the music died, and they were singing "Bye Bye Miss America." So they're
leaving and saying
they're singing it as so now you've had Satan singing it. We were singing. I started singing, and now the three, whoever that represents, as they're leaving, they're singing "Bye Bye Miss American Pie."
There was nothing written in the blogs that you read. Nothing about that.
I read that it was the Holy Trinity. It could have been the three who died in the plane crash, or it was JFK, Robert Kennedy, and Martin Luther King. And it's all up.
That's my favorite part of the song.
Yeah, mine too.
It's a great line, man. The three men I admire most, the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, they caught the last train for the coast. It's great. It's a great line. And then we go into the chorus one more time, and then so I'll just play it out instead of circling at the end. But the last chorus, the chorus repeats twice. And at the second part of the chorus, there's a group of people that sing. And so several voices. And it's credited as the West 44th Street Rhythm and Noise Choir. Carly Simon is in that group. James Taylor is in that group. Pete Seeger is in that group. So it's like a bunch of his like famous friends just kind of singing the refrain. I'll just play it out.
I didn't know that.
That'll bring it to the end of the song.
And they were singing, "Bye, bye, Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. And them good old boys were drinking whiskey and rye, singing, this'll be the day that I die. This'll be the day that I die." They were singing, "Bye, bye, Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. Them good old boys were drinking whiskey and rye, singing, this'll be the day that I die."
It ends the way it starts.
It ends as a folk song.
Yeah, it came all the way around with the instrumentation to it, like all the piano and all that other stuff all drops out.
It goes through everything in that song. It gets folky, and then it rocks. It like really rocks.
When
the bass is just.
Do you hear God above?
Holy,
When that verse starts, it really takes off.
Okay, well, throw this out in the ring. So do you think this is overthinking it? But like the reason why it rocks, do you think that's like interpretation of when Dylan went electric? He's a folk singer. It's a folk song, but then it gets rocky.
It could be, man.
And then, like, when Dylan went electric, so this song's going to get electric. It didn't get electric, but it got heavy.
I don't put anything past it in this song.
No.
He doesn't even know.
He doesn't know. But I think people, like, it's more interesting to talk about than I think maybe the thought that he put in. I don't know.
That's the great thing about music.
Yeah.
You make up your own stories.
Yeah.
You make up your own...
Yeah.
Everything about music, you make up your own story about it.
Yeah.
Well, so I have a quote from Don McClean in 2015. He said, "Over the years, I've dealt with all these stupid questions of who's that and who's that. These are things I never had in my head for a second when I wrote the song. I was just trying to capture something very ephemeral, and I did, but it took a really long time." Mm-hmm. So he's like, he doesn't. It's just. Dude,
I think it's experiences in his life.
Yeah,
it's
the end of his innocence.
Yeah,
like the end of his childhood.
Yeah,
that's how I see it. Maybe this song is about the end of his childhood.
Yeah, the magic's gone, and like, oh wait a minute, it's not so magical in this world, and there's real shit going on, and I'm starting to have to deal with it, and I don't like it. You know?
It's like in anything, man. It's like movies and literature. You can, I was just when I was sitting at McCusker's earlier grabbing a beer, I was talking to Jesse. He's talking about all the symbolism in Stanley Kubrick movies. Like all the stuff all the stuff you dive into, and it's like you can find anything.
Yeah, you can find anything if you look into it. Yeah, you can find meaning in anything.
That's the beauty of it. So that's American Pie, man. So we tore through it. We didn't take a break. I think we still have to do some second thoughts. electric chair. We got some music news. So why don't we take a break? Hopefully some people stick with us and come back with all the good
What's
stuff.
beautiful about podcasts, people can pause it and come back to it.
Yes. All right, we'll be back.
Stick around.
Prisoners of Rock and Roll is sponsored by McCusker's Tavern at 17th and Shunk Streets in Philadelphia. There's something for everyone on the beer list and the jukebox in McCusker's. It's minutes from the sports stadiums in Philly, making it a great place to stop by for a few drinks before or after a concert or a game. Come see for yourself why everyone from Philadelphia Magazine to Playboy has called it one of the best dive bars in the city. Visit them at 17th and Shunk Streets in Philadelphia or on Facebook. That's McCusker's Tavern. All right, we're back from the commercial break. Thanks so much for sticking with us, man. All right, we're going to bring it home. So I got some second thoughts. Man, we got a lot of feedback on our Christmas episode.
I was shocked.
I loved that Christmas
Yeah,
episode.
it was good.
A lot of fun.
It was good.
That did really, really
I know.
well for us,
I'm like
too.
really happy for us. Like I was surprised.
And a lot of it might have been me because I listened to it for
Did
like
you really?
the whole like leading up to Christmas, man. I listened to it a lot.
It was fun.
Yeah.
You know, even the songs were lame, but it was fun to still listen to them.
Yeah. All right. So I got some feedback. So our buddy Lloyd in Dallas, he's written in before, and we met him. I sent him some stickers and a note because he's actually working on a book about the Beatles, and I wrote him a little note about that and wished him luck. But he said the Christmas show was a riot. Sorry, it was too jammed in to send a candidate song. I asked him if he had a song he wanted to send. He said, I want to thank you for your great letter and the stickers. I can now tell you the Prisoners of Rock and Roll has been further spread to cool locals and music folks here, including Dr. Doug, Dr. Jennifer, a university piano department, and others who now dig the Prisoners.
Very cool.
My son's 21st birthday was this past Saturday, and he is now on to you.
Nice.
Happy birthday, buddy.
Happy birthday.
He got a big kick at the kind mention of my email on your Pink Floyd show. I'm looking forward to your upcoming shows. Let me know if I can help. The Prisoners of Rock and Roll rock.
Good luck with the
Lloyd.
book.
Yeah,
Lloyd,
man,
good luck
yeah.
with the book.
Keep on rocking, dude.
Absolutely, and happy birthday.
Yes.
Some people absolutely loved the Neil Diamond version of the Hanukkah
I
song.
love it. I think it's the greatest thing I've ever heard in my life.
God.
I was telling everybody about that.
The Hanukkah song.
So, Marcus Goldman, he's a DJ on WMMR in Philadelphia, and he's the host of the Imbalanced History of Rock and Roll on Pantheon. He said he responded to our tweet when I tweeted the song, and he said, I got to say, for as much as I enjoy the Adam Sandler version, I am loving capital letters, the Neil Diamond cover, a ton.
Yes.
And then David Wilkes, he's a DJ on CJCM Rock Radio, wrote in and said, you guys have made my day by posting this song. So really cool.
It's the greatest thing I've ever heard, man.
It was really interesting. And the video, man, was weird. The cartoon kind of video.
Yeah.
And then I got some feedback on the Stone Temple Pilots.
Wait.
Yeah,
the Neil
sure.
Diamond thing. I love at the end, he's like, guess who else was a Jew? Jesus Christ. I loved it. I cracked
And he says, like, don't smoke your marijuana.
yeah.
The Scott Weiland episode, that didn't get so much feedback. Joe Monteleone is a guy I work with in Chicago. He's like, dude, I'm a big fan both of STP as well as Christmas albums in general, so I was really surprised I haven't heard of this. After listening to it, now I understand why. It just isn't that good. Bummer. And then he said he was going to listen to the Bad Religion Christmas album instead.
That was
I
great.
right
I
on,
I did listen
right
to that.
on, Joe. The
Good
Bad Religion
choice.
Christmas album is great.
Yeah.
Great choice.
Yeah, Scott was just trying to get smack money.
Yeah, bizarre. So, all right, music news. All right. Eric Clapton sues woman for selling bootlegs. Doug, you shared this story a couple weeks ago.
This, man. This is really...
Eric Clapton has successfully sued a 55-year-old German widow for trying to sell an unauthorized bootleg on eBay for $11. A judge in Dusseldorf ordered the woman to pay $4,000 in legal fees and told her if she ever tried to sell the CD again, she would be fined $281,000 and spend 6 months in jail. The woman said that her deceased husband purchased the album at a German department store in the 80s, and she was just selling some of his things after he died. After the story broke, Clapton took a ton of heat on social media for suing a little old lady in Germany. And he came out and said that Germany is actually full of bootleggers, and he told his lawyers to go after the people that actually manufacture the bootlegs and not people like that. And he said he doesn't want to recoup his share of the $4,000. Yeah, Doug, you brought this up like weeks ago. We were all like,
I was just like, what?
yeah.
He's
He's
like, I said to someone, I was like, man, this ain't looking too good for the slow hand.
yeah, slow hand. That's a bad look, man.
Yeah.
When you're suing people for selling an $11 CD.
He's not the greatest guy. I don't think Clapton's
no.
like the greatest. He had this whole thing, remember, when he was like being racist on stage?
Yeah.
And then the next day he's playing with B.B. King, you know.
Yeah,
I don't remember that.
He's had he's been in the news a lot for a lot He's taken a lot of flack in the last couple of years.
Maybe
but-
one day he'll be the shitbag of the week.
Yeah. And then, all right, so
I
I
have so much to say, but I'm not going to cut it.
I got one other thing. So why artists sell their music? So we talked a lot about artists selling their music catalogs a few times on the show. And I kept promising every time it came up, I said I would look into it. Well, that's how I spent my Christmas break. So I read a couple articles. I read something on Forbes. I saw, you guys watch Shark Tank?
I know of it.
Yeah, I know of it.
Damon John. He's the guy who started like FUBU.
Cool.
On it. He actually did like a little video on like TMZ on why people were doing this. So I got some answers. First, artists are selling their catalogs to make some cash. So artists make most of their money because of touring, and the pandemic jammed that all up. There was something with like Fogerty was demanding to like renegotiate all of his like streaming rights on Spotify because he was like, I'm not making any money right now. Money. Yeah. Secondly, it helps prevent their legacy. So when an artist sells their publishing rights, you would think that those publishing rights would then be in the hands of like industry professionals, right? So it's not like
to put out like tasteful,
right? So it's not somebody's like kid in charge of it.
Yeah.
It also avoids that like if they die, then the family's not fighting over all the music. I heard like an example was like they said when Frank Zappa died, his whole family was like
bananas,
fighting over
Wow.
everything. Or like I remember like when Jerry Garcia died, I remember like his family was fighting over all the money. So that's all like secure. So somebody's not making bad decisions. And then so thirdly was around tax exemptions. So this guy Damon John from Shark Tank discussed the tax implications, and he used Springsteen as an example. So he's like, Springsteen is already really, really wealthy, right? So and he sold his music catalog for $500 million.
Good for you,
right?
Bruce.
So thank you. He pays capital gains taxes on that. So he pays 20% as the capital gains tax rate. If he kept the money, he would be in the highest tax bracket because he's so wealthy.
Sure.
So the royalties, he pays 40% on the taxes of all the money he makes. So he gets like a lump sum. His kids don't have to make the decisions, and he pays a little bit less money in taxes.
He's the boss.
He is the boss. But for what it's worth, so then I found an article by a guy named Randall Wixon. He is he runs a music publishing company, and he has over 2,000 clients. He manages the publishing rights for here's just a couple: Big Bad Voodoo Daddy, The Doors, John Mayall, the Doobie Brothers, Jefferson Airplane, Rancid, Al Green, Santana, Tom Morello, the Black Keys, Tom Petty, Janis, the Beach Boys. You get the idea. The guy knows what he's doing. He said, I have never seen a single person who has sold their publishing rights and didn't eventually regret it. So he was like, the first time you sit down and you turn on the TV and you hear the car commercial with your right.
Yeah.
You hear Born in the USA.
Yeah, but Bruce is doing car commercials. Dave Grohl's doing car commercials. Right. Like, I was under the impression that, the way that music is listened in this day, there's no more money to be made in it. So that's that's why. I mean, some people said, like your music catalog is an appreciating asset regardless. Like Tom Petty's whatever. So,
like you said, hopefully somebody gets their hands on it to know what to do with it.
Right.
Instead of some family member, that don't deserve anything to do with it.
Right. It's like,
but hopefully they tasteful.
Like Johnny Cash's kid is a music executive, but like Springsteen's kid's a firefighter.
But who owns the rights to Jim Morrison?
Who?
Is his wife's parents.
Right. And it's like, what do they have to, right? So,
and they don't.
So that family's like living off of it.
Whatever.
Yeah.
What was
grandchildren? Like
they didn't have any grandchildren or anything like that.
Then who gets it now? So her parents are long gone.
No.
Crazy.
They own the rights. Her family owns the rights to Jim Morrison.
So I said a couple times I would look into this, and I did. So that's how I spent the week off that I was with work. I wasn't doing that when I was at my desk. So if anybody works with me,
just long as you have fun.
All right, man. All right, the electric chair, the first electric chair of 2022, where we kill a song for being terrible. So we were sitting here as we were talking about Helter Skelter and everything. We're like the perfect person to send to the electric chair. Who wasn't shitbag of the week?
I
don't know how it didn't happen.
He came as the runner-up of shitbag of the week, but is Charles Manson. So he put out some music. He fancied himself to be a musician, and he has a song on Spotify, man, called "Look at Your Game, Girl." It's got 2.5 million streams. Yeah, who the hell makes them? Now that I've cleaned up the why people sell their artists. I can figure where the royalties go for Charles Manson's
Who knows?
money.
He probably has a bunch of kids out there.
Yeah.
Like
He definitely has kids out there.
He definitely has a kid. Definitely, the kid changed his name. Like he lives in seclusion. Like he's under an alias.
All those disciples
Yeah.
had kids.
I'm gonna play a little bit of it. It's just he's another one, man. We haven't talked about, like, he was.
Yeah. And we were talking earlier. Guns N' Roses covered this on one of their Spaghetti Incident album. Yeah.
Wasn't he living with Mike Love?
Yeah.
The Beach Boys.
No, not Mike Love. One of the
Dennis.
One of the Dennis
It was
Wilson.
Dennis. Dennis started hanging out with two of his girls, and then the girls brought over Charlie, and then everybody else started coming over. And then they took over the house, and he figured, let me leave the house instead of trying to get all these weirdos out of the house.
Yeah.
So he abandoned the house, the Manson family.
That's not the house that Sharon Tate was living in, right?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Fuck him.
That's enough of this shit.
We sentence you to death.
Yeah. Fuck you, Charlie.
You know, guys, we did something that America never did.
Killed
Charlie. Charlie Manson.
Yeah, right.
That was like in that movie, that the Tarantino film, when they
finally killed Hitler.
They kill him in the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and they killed all like
Twiggy and all
Twiggy
those
and
dudes.
dude. I felt so much satisfaction now, like
Squeaky
with
Fromm
piece
and
of
all these
shit
other
people.
turds.
Yeah.
You know.
Anyway.
All right, man. So that's a wrap on episode 32. If you like what you hear, give us a follow on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere you listen to your favorite podcast. That way you'll get notified as soon as we release a new episode. Tell your friends how awesome we are and leave us a 5-star rating. Spotify actually just started letting people rate podcasts. So you guys got to make sure you log into Spotify and give us 5 stars.
Yeah,
so,
yes, totally.
Furthermore, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, prisonersofrockandroll.com, and via email at prisonersofrockandroll@gmail. We put out a music playlist to go with every episode, so we went down the rabbit hole pretty hard tonight.
Yeah,
man.
that was great. I had so much fun.
We were all over the place. We did put together a playlist. We'll put it in the show notes. We'll share it on social media, all that kind of stuff, man. Doug, even you said, he's like, dude, you're just going for a road trip, man. That was a great music.
It's a great playlist. Everybody listen to it.
A lot of really cool stuff, man. And lastly, if you're ever in the city of brotherly love, stop by McCusker's Tavern at 17th and Shunk Streets in Philadelphia. I always stop in for a beer before recording the show, and it's always great to see everybody and catch up. So that's it, man. We will be back in 2 weeks. I believe we're talking about 1992?
Yeah, 1992.
Okay, right on.
All right, we'll be back in 2 weeks. We're going to get on our musical mystery Wayback Machine, and we're going to look at 30 years ago, the music that came out in... yeah, whatever.
Okay.
We'll be back in 2 weeks. We're going to look at music that came out in 1992 because it's really cool. All right, that's it. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thanks for listening.
Keep on rocking. Peace out.